Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Dawg Pound. Oh, another great show, another week. Yes, sir.
Woof, woof.
I've got some superstar guests today. We got a really impactful subject, a lot to talk about. But let's start out introducing our guests. Now, here's a man I've known for probably 25 years. I did business with him and his father when they were dealers, and now he's a moderator with Nicholas Campbell Morrow. Hello, DJ Heller.
Hello, Jimmy. How you doing?
Having the best day of my life. You're out in Phoenix today, right?
I am. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So you had a chance to talk to some of your dealers about the subject at hand.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy with meetings. Got just finished a Honda meeting, so I think we'll have some information here.
Fantastic. And now, and I said it earlier, one of the brightest young dealers I've ever met. I mean, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, to be in your 30s and be running 5, 6, 20 dealerships. How many do you have now, Jake?
I operate 4 stores, and we, as a group, have about 11 going on 12.
Fantastic. Jake Lebowitz, real good friend. I visited his dealership and done a little training there. These guys are phenomenal. Good dealer. And now directly from Moscow, Russia, the mad Russian himself. Where are you at today, Max?
I mean, I'm in Spain, but I want to make it clear I do all my business in America. You know, I haven't figured out how to do it here.
You're not doing. You just go to Spain. Yeah, to be that wealthy. I mean, the king of reinsurance. This guy is the bomb when it comes to reinsurance, finance training. 4 published books on Amazon. I mean, you're in Spain today, right? You got another headquarters in Philadelphia and another headquarters in New York City. I mean, oh my God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we're talking about brilliant people. One of the most brilliant women has held every job in the car business. My friend Jennifer Briggs. How you doing, kid?
I'm doing good, Jim. And I just, full transparency, I've never been a service manager. I've built service centers, but not been a service manager. So got to be transparent about that. Now, if anybody wants to give me a crack at it.
You've consulted so many dealerships. You're consulting, what, 30 or 40 of them right now, true?
Yes.
Fantastic. BDC, internet, anything that has to do with the electronic internet operations of a dealership.
Yeah, I always say it's digital sales and marketing strategy, which is pretty much everything nowadays. So
and
from inventory,
you are the best. And talking about the best, this guy, I started out training when he was a salesman. I taught him F&I. I raised this man. Former general manager of Headquarter Hyundai. He's taken a leave of absence, sold out his portion of the dealership, and he's back on the market. So you're looking for a great general manager, my friend Bill Wolf. Hello, Bill.
Hi, Jim. How are you today?
Well, you can see I'm healthy. I'm having a great time. Big subject today.
Yes, it is.
I heard in the wind that the manufacturers have taken a look at what's happened during COVID, and they are planning, plans. The best laid plans of mice and men often go astray, Burns. But anyway, the manufacturers are planning to keep the inventory low after the chip shortage ends. And even Automotive News had a conversation with the Honda executives this past week, and he sort of confirmed that they are definitely thinking about that. Now, DJ, you've got all these 20 groups. You have a lot of inside information. What are you hearing?
I don't know if I got inside information, but the communication just kind of went out. I don't know that it's clear yet as to the direction that Honda's taking. I know that the allocation has been greatly minimized for the next one, and as far as what happens after that, they're concerned about. But you got Honda stores that don't have any new vehicles on their lot, so And this is coming off a year, where they increased market share and increased sales year-over-year gains. So I think there's some cautious optimism as to what's going to happen here, but certainly interested in what everybody else got to say on this.
Well, what I'm seeing is they've become to believe that they can exist with built to order, exact inventory. Jake, what's your thoughts?
It's obviously a time where the consumer's been strong, rates have been low. And I think dealers have, seen great return on sales due to the conditions. But I personally believe that you can be extremely effective by doing a lot of forward ordering. But I do believe that you need some day supply on the ground, whether it be leaner and a 30-day or a 40-day supply, and fill the rest of the gaps in through a strategic ordering process. I believe in something like that. As far as built to order, I think now, yesterday, tomorrow, maybe it works, but I don't believe it's I don't believe it's a strategy that could lead to manufacturer growth over time. And I think that's what the manufacturers need and what they're looking for. So, but I do believe that dealers, have, started seeing the advantages of running lean, and there's some, ways to do it the right way. And it'll be interesting to see what manufacturers do.
It's going to be really interesting. Jennifer, what's your thoughts?
Well, just to kind of follow up on what Jake is saying there, I think there's a main difference. There's a huge difference between running lean and controlling the market and kind of, I think it's a slippery slope. And yes, right now people are making great profits, but that's also because the supply and demand is there. And who's to say if we fall all the way there? I think I was actually just talking with somebody about this earlier about, how it used to be 80% of consumers bought something completely and totally different than what they first reached out to your dealership about. And
They still do.
So, but imagine if we were so limited, and I 100% agree. But me, I've always run leaner inventory, been trying to turn that capital, not just look at it like inventory, but make sure we're getting the most and turning our capital and our investments.
But that's you, Jennifer. That's you. I mean, I have watched you grow dealerships to real stupid numbers. I mean, you're good at it. I mean, but the average dealer.
But I feel like what we're talking about is not the way I would normally run. It's not a lean, efficient operation. It's the OEM really kind of pulling some of that out of our control as dealers. And although I do prefer lean, I'm not in on that.
Okay, they're taking it away now. Bill, I'm going to let you jump in here a second.
Sure.
Max, what's your thoughts?
Well, from what I know, the OEMs are looking at least through 2024 before we get past the 15-day inventory on the ground. And I believe they're looking at the whole relationship between how much they need us as a dealer.
Is that because of the chip shortage?
And I think that's the excuse. I mean, you can't tell me that we're going to shut down a whole industry over a chip. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I can't believe some kid in his basement couldn't come up with it. I think that they're, looking at, efficiencies from the manufacturing delivering to us and, selling, the vanilla ice cream part of the brands. People want to see it, touch it. And it's a whole change of consumer mindset to come into a Hyundai dealership and say, I want this without seeing anything and ordering the vehicle, and when's it going to get here? I don't know. That presents kind of a challenge.
Okay, so there's two things we're talking about. We're talking about built to order, and we're talking about inventory from the manufacturer, day supply. I have always had the theory that inventory sells cars. People are instantaneous. We're in the Amazon generation. You can order something on Amazon and conceivably even have it this afternoon.
Right.
So if the manufacturers are thinking that we're emulating Tesla, and I think Tesla is what everybody's talking about right now. Tesla is the target. Carvana is not really the target, although I've been hearing Carvana. What's your thoughts, Max?
Well, I think OEMs are not different from dealers. There are two types of dealers: high gross, low volume; high volume, low gross. Right? And I think there are competing fractions at the OEM level, and one fraction wants build to order, and the other fraction, the old dogs, right? They want market share. And none of us here know.
Market share, there's the word we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Right. And none of us know who's going to win at the end of the day. But what happens right now is really devastating for the future service business, right? Because we're selling less cars, and it'll be much harder to fill service drives. And it's also devastating to the reinsurance business, right? Because you're selling less VSCs or less other ancillary products. So your reinsurance company gets less and less reserve into the trust account. And I think dealers need to speak up and explain that American consumers, like Jim mentioned, they need it yesterday. You need to have not 15 days on the ground. You need to have 60 days on the ground. I need to walk into a dealership and be able to choose colors, options, and not build to order and wait 6 to 8 weeks. It's just not practical.
It's not going to happen. And the dealer that still has the inventory on the ground, I think, is going to, all of a sudden, I don't believe manufacturers can help themselves. Now, I'm going to go to Jake here in a second. This thing's going to last. They can limit inventory until one of them starts to gain market share. I mean, what do you think, Jake?
To his point, I think this could be better for fixed ops. People are going to hold on to their cars longer. I don't think that's better for the business. I think it's a volume game at the end of the day. And like I said, I believe that you can effectively run with a 30-day supply on the ground, selling from your inbound pipeline. And the guys who are sharper and the guys who can figure out the right way to order, those are the guys who are going to sell the volume. And I think
say that again, Jake.
The guys who know how to order and the guys that can turn their inbound inventory, those are the guys that are going to outperform. It's not going to be the guys that used to stock 700-800 cars and ran mail. It's going to be the guys that can figure out, and it's tough because obviously a year ago pickups were hot and now EVs are hot, and to constantly figure out the formula of what works, you got to understand the market and what's happening. But I think to sell cars and to grow your market share as an OEM, you gotta have cars on the ground. I mean, you can't expect customers to go into a dealership with 7 or 8 cars and want to build everything. It's not viable, and I don't see it.
And let's not forget the money that our service departments make from PDI, right? Because it's not just customer pay type of work. We're going to have less warranty work because there's less new cars available. And those used car customers are not necessarily loyal to our brand. When you look at your retention numbers for your service department customers, it's dependent upon your new car sales numbers. And you make some money right off those PDIs, which that's going to be drastically reduced. And, Jake on the show, and then Jake Davis in the comments, you guys basically were saying the same thing at the same time on those older, higher mileage vehicles. But you got to remember, those people are also less loyal to your brand and less loyal to your dealership. They're going to go to Jiffy Lube.
Right. If you look at your service retention for the out of warranty vehicles, it might be shocking how low that number is and how infrequently these people actually go to a car dealership.
Well, is that because that's because of some of the processes and turnover on the drive that we've had too. This is not necessarily a new vehicle shortage of inventory issue. This is a completely different issue that for many years the dealerships have turned over their advisor at about 50% a year, you know, and we don't have processes to keep up with what we want.
I wasn't aware of that. We got a 50% turnover in service
Yes,
advisors?
it's 43% in 2020, but it's been running somewhere between 40 and 50 for years now, you know, and you think about this. So that, I agree with what you guys are saying there, but that problem doesn't necessarily completely rely on the fact that we're not selling new cars and losing them to the independents. That's us. We got to look in the mirror on that.
The service part is also being very competitive with the Jiffy Lubes and time. You know, people
Right.
see the 30 minutes and, you know, if you're sitting there doing a walk around and writing them up and going over and it's 30 minutes before they even, you know, the car's taken in, that's where the breakdown in service comes in the
Well, it's
loyalty.
amazing you would mention Jiffy Lube because in July, the current administration broadened the Right to Repair Act, and
You're going to get me started on this again, Jim.
Yeah, that's why I brought that up.
Yeah, you brought a subject in that I didn't even intend to talk about today, because the independent service facilities, the independent mechanics are going to have the access to the factory specs, factory parts, and they're going to get reimbursed by the manufacturer on warranty. So that's another thing that's coming. I didn't mean to bring that into this conversation.
Sorry about that.
Inventory on the ground sales, and what I see is I don't think the manufacturers have the ethic to stick to it if they say they're going to do it.
No,
No. I mean,
I don't think anybody does.
No, they're already sick in stomach.
Because, you know, right now, Tesla is only a couple points behind BMW as the #1 luxury brand.
Wow.
It's always been BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, maybe Audi. Now, Jake, you just picked up an Audi point. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and Audi is a great example of, you know, they can't come even close to satisfying the demand for the product that's in the market. And you know, you're getting people obviously defecting to Tesla and defecting to, you know, Genesis and you know, that's a Audi service customer. You're talking about, you know, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100,000 over the course of, you know, that lifetime. And I think it's a costly proposition for the OEMs to maneuver here. And Audi, I mean, is I see it across, you know, Kia, Hyundai, General Motors, and Audi, and the luxury brands, I think, are being hurt tremendously by, you know, by what's happening. Because the other thing with the luxury guys are a lot of those guys sell at MSRP, you know, or they discount, and you know, they're doing less volume, and there's so much demand in that segment, but it can't be. You know, they can't produce cars, or they're sending them to China or Germany. And, you know, I think it's a slippery slope for the OEMs they're trying to game the system, I think, a little bit too much across different markets. And it's, I get it. I mean, they have a limited amount of inventory. They gotta maximize their return. But, you know, as a dealer, you're buying the blue sky of the brand, and you expect the brand to satisfy the demand in your market. And I think it's concerning when that doesn't happen, for sure.
I just the dealers right now are marking up cars over sticker. A lot of dealers are. I just fell into an internal memo from GM signed by Steve Carlisi, the president of General Motors. And in this internal memo, one thing they said, they're going to start stepping all over the brokers that are marking these things up and the dealers that are marking things up. So and I don't think General Motors is the only one that's got additional dealer markup in their sites. So if additional dealer markup is a problem for the manufacturers and they shut it down, which if General Motors is going to shut it down, you know, Ford is, you know, the imports are, especially Toyota, it's going to come. So if they shut down the additional dealer markups and then they limit inventory, what's your thoughts on that, Bill Wolf?
Well, you know, as far as franchise laws, I don't know about them setting a price. I think it's short-sighted. I've seen dealers mark it up as much as $10,000 And, you might sell a customer while inventory short, but, when inventory comes back to normal, you're never going to see that person again.
No, you won't.
And-
But does the manufacturer have the right to limit profitability?
No, they do not have the right to limit profitability. That's the first point. And then to your point about inventory, also, you got to remember, 5 years ago, China wasn't a market as it is today. They're trying to open up basically a continent size, market, and people are voracious there for vehicles, and same with Russia, really. That's not that old. So, America used to be number one, and that's where everybody wanted to do business. And evidently, right now they're rethinking their strategies, especially the Asian brands.
So once again, if the like the Hyundai dealers,
Right.
right, the Hyundai dealers, Hummer, the new Hummer EV, those dealers had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the right to have that franchise. And when that EV comes out, a lot of them are going to be marking them up $25,000, $30,000 over sticker when that Hummer EV hits the market. And if General Motors at the same time is going to step down on the profit markup, what's your thoughts, Jennifer?
I mean, I feel like they've been doing that from the cost perspective forever, because what we've got to pay for that inventory has been going up, but they've not been allowing for that adjustment.
And facility requirements.
And the facility requirements. So they have been literally choking us from a cost perspective. Now they want to cut our head off. We're talking about cutting our head off. And listen, I don't believe in price gouging. Don't get me wrong, but there is an economic law of supply and demand. And when the market is dictating something, you should be in line with the market. If you're out of line with the market, then you don't have the sales numbers. And I really do not like this idea of a cap, unless, as the other side of that franchise agreement, we're making some demands on capping some of the other things they've been passing along to us as costs.
Some of your dealers are capping it. What's your thoughts on that, DJ?
Well, I the real root of the problem here is do you really think that the manufacturers are enthralled with the amount of money the dealerships are making right now? And I think we all know that.
There you go.
So they see the financial statements, and it was a record year in the car industry for dealerships, and they're going to do something about it. The bottom line is price gouging a thing? No. We try to talk about in 20 group meetings about value-added products that we could put on the vehicle other than just putting dealer inventory adjustment or whatever you want to call it, dealer market. But at the end of the day, the average Honda dealer made probably $5, $6, $7 million last year. So are they going to do something? Is GM going to do something about it? Yeah, they are. They're going to do something about it. Is it right? I don't think it's right, personally. It's supply and demand, like Jennifer said.
What are your dealers telling you? What are you hearing from? I talk to a lot of dealers. I know you do.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think the ones that are more concerned about this are the domestic franchises, the GMs and the Fords. Those are the ones that they feel like the constraints. And then we talked about this.
DJ went silent.
Oh, we lost your audio, DJ.
Yeah.
We can't
Lost
hear
your audio, DJ. But okay, DJ, your audio is not there.
Jim, I can jump in here, and I want to go back to the fractions at the OEM that I talked about before, and I guarantee you there is an investor's fraction that is mesmerized by Tesla, right? And they're pushing for every OEM to be like Tesla. And to address your point, that Tesla is going to be number one luxury vehicle seller.
They're just 2 points behind
right,
BMW
Jim,
right now.
I think it's totally accidental, right? Because they sell the car for MSRP, right? It's not negotiable. And dealers follow the laws of supply and demand. And of course, when a customer goes to a Mercedes dealership or a BMW dealership, and they say, well, if you want to drive this GL 450, it's only $30,000 over sticker, right? The customer automatically says, okay, no problem. Let me go get a Model X.
I had that same conversation with Jake Lebowitz yesterday. The Highline customers, Jake was brokering McLarens, and I mean he's going way out there. So, yeah. So
Well, yeah, I think you're in the ultra, supercar market. I think you're seeing, it's a different ball game. But somebody made a good comment here about, if you have 4 or 5 dealerships, same brand, it's almost an unfair ball game against the guy that's got one of the store, in a rural market. And like I said, I believe in a forward ordering system. I think that's the best way to operate. But I do believe the guys that can acquire more rooftops over different markets will have a sizable advantage, luxury, domestic, whatever it may be, because they're the guys that can show more inventory and can earn. And about luxury, that market is just out of control right now, and it'll be interesting seeing what happens to the value of these vehicles and to the brands. A lot of these high-end brands are 10, 12, 13 times multiples. I mean, can those multiples sustain if you're not selling cars into your markets and servicing cars up? I don't know. But that was a good point that somebody made about brand having multiple stores.
Yeah, that was Terrell Lake. And actually, when you've got multiple dealerships, now you've been dealing with Kia. You've had all these Kia dealerships. Now all of a sudden you got the Audi dealership. What's the difference with the manufacturers?
So Kia pivoted a bit to a forward ordering system about 18 months, 2 years ago, and it was a great move. And rather than just ordering a variety of each vehicle, they got dealers and general sales managers truly understanding what the clients are looking for, way ahead of time. And I personally believe it allowed them to better build and better forecast. And, Kia has weathered this a little bit better than General Motors and some of the other brands. And I think the forward ordering has really helped them.
Explain forward ordering for people that don't understand how that works.
Basically just having allocation and being able to order exactly what you want 90 days out, 120 days out, instead of just ordering, 6 months supply of cars. GM has a similar model, but I think GM constrains it too much. I think Kia has really...
Because you have one Chevrolet store, don't you? You got one Chevrolet store.
Yeah, we have General Motors, and I think General Motors it's very constrained, and it's really hard ordering, exactly what you need. And Kia, if you're turning, it's a little bit easier. General Motors is tough for sure. I think the forward ordering systems have to be good, and they have to make sense for the dealer and for the consumer.
DJ, did you get your audio back?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
We can hear you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You were saying
about the factories. I didn't know who shut my microphone off.
Yeah, they did not want you to keep talking.
Yeah, the manufacturers got control of the broadcaster. Shut you down.
That's right. Yeah.
What were you saying before you were interrupted?
I think I was just talking about the fact that with the increase in profits, we've also got more control coming in from the factory side to the dealers. There's the reliance on there's not many dealers that are sales effective, sales efficient anymore, and I think that's a big deal. For especially when you're talking about growing your platform, your business model, and transitioning to an heir, whether it be a manager or a family member or something like that. I mean, they have so much power right now over this because of the lack of sales effective and sales efficient stuff like that, whether it be a DART score or whatever it is for the different franchises. With the increase in profits, and I think that's a concern from the dealers, not just necessarily on this level, but you talk about somebody like Jake who has multiple stores, and I've got groups that have 30 to 40 stores, and they want to grow, but they need vehicles to be sales effective to grow because they get turned out with that franchise. That's a big deal.
Well, one thing we're seeing right now, DJ, is that there's a lot of acquisitions right now. A lot of dealerships are changing hands, but You know what is surprising if you look at the stats on that? It's the mom and pop dealerships formerly, the privately owned dealerships, the Jake Lebowitz of this world. They're buying not the Auto Nations, not the Penske's. I mean, so the private dealers are buying up multiple stores and becoming mega dealers.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, folks?
I think that's the wave of the future there.
Yeah. Well, I think the mid-sized groups, we're used to running more efficient. We're used to running lean, and I would consider mid-size anywhere between really, 5 and 25 or 30 stores would be a mid-sized group. And I think, and again, totally biased, coming out of accounting into operations during the last recession and really like cash and contracts that day at credit union, super lean. But I think in those smaller organizations, we're more adaptable and we are more efficient because we've had to be. We don't have the resources of an AutoNation or a Sonic. So it makes perfect sense to me that those in that segment are who's scooping up, these, single point rooftops or even, some points from these larger groups.
Well, I had Chris Baker on a couple weeks ago. Benton Baker, they bought 23 stores in the last year. Relatively in the last year, maybe 2 years, but
I feel like it was a blink of an eye for certain. I think I remember Benton Baker was like 8 stores, then all of a sudden
23.
Yeah.
And look at Team Chevrolet.
Oh yeah, Kristen,
Kristen Dillard. She has grown that. They got 5 or 6, 7 stores now, and I consulted her dad 25 years ago when it was 1 store, and all of a sudden she came out of the academy, and her and Jake are on fire. They're just
yeah.
Buying stores left and right. What's your thoughts, Max? Cut you off.
I don't know. I'm a little conflicted about it because I'm afraid that people have, they have a short-term memory, and this music is not going to go on forever, where the $10,000 is the new average gross profit per car, and a lot of guys get carried away and they say, let's buy this store, let's buy that store. And not only that they're paying at the peak of the market for the blue sky, they and NADA can confirm this, right? 97% of dealer principals and GMs came up through sales with the very minimum understanding of fixed stops.
Yeah, Jake and I had a conversation about that yesterday as well.
Yeah, and when the music stops playing, if you don't know how to get those auto warranty customers into your service drive, right, to do the actual repair work, the actual customer pay labor.
When you are competing with independent service facilities now that also have access to factory parts, factory specs.
Exactly. And if you're not thinking of, going into wholesale or retail, when it comes to parts, and if you're not thinking of dabbling in a body shop, you might be really shell-shocked, when the economy takes a turn, right? And all the money that you paid for these franchises, and the only thing is how to sell cars for over sticker, right? With actually no salesmanship whatsoever, right? You just say, hey, I have this car in black, come and take it. It's $5,000 today. You think about it too long, tomorrow it's $6,000 over sticker. When you actually have to go back to reality and start selling cars and have product knowledge and understand your competition, it'll be a harsh wake-up call to a lot of these guys that are on the acquisition spree.
So just to shorten that up, what Max is saying is just because you have record-breaking gross profits in the front of the house doesn't change your service absorption KPI and the targets that you're going for there. It's still, even right now today, supposed to be that service pays for everything and your sales profit is gravy. That's how I was trained an efficient dealership runs.
Okay, so
thank you for that translation, Jennifer.
You're very welcome. I'll be a car guy for you, Max.
Okay, here, Jason Rice is on the side. I hold Jason Rice in a lot of respect. And Jason says if dealers shrink their inventory, they have to have a new trade-in process. They've been figuring it out, but customers have figured out how to get multiple bids for their trade-in pretty easily. So,
well, I feel
Yeah.
like that's always been the case, but
Right.
now they also are requesting a market adjustment, just like we are.
Yeah.
holding
At
on-
least in the Orlando market, CarMax and Car Offer are hitting the customers to buy their cars directly.
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
okay.
Mike. Jim, this is a really important topic. I think Jason's right. You know, we spent a lot of time talking about these in meetings. I mean, this is the old car dealership versus the new generation car dealership is, you know, we have to start being very transparent and getting manager involved on trade-ins and you know, trying to let people know how much we want their car rather than devaluing their car and trying to, you know, just try to create huge under allowances on stuff like this. I mean, we got to start trading for 60 to 70% of these vehicles with no inventory. We have to.
Well, we got to also
I've
not
been
just
in the
focus on
business
trades.
48 years, and holding on the trade was always the best gross. And
Sure.
that is not even a possibility today because, you know, you got the Car Offer, you got CarMax, you got people that will buy your car even if you don't buy ours, and they're advertising. Carvana is advertising heavily to buy cars now. Sell us your car. I mean, that's all over the airways. So,
Right.
Is that happening up in Pennsylvania, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think the dealers that are able to not just trade cars, but buy cars, you know, in their market are the guys that are, you know, obviously right now, low rate, strong consumer, everybody's strong. But I think the guys that are still setting the first service appointment and the guys that are TOing every customer and dealing with issues, those are the guys that are going to be successful in 12 months, 18 months. And I think you got a lot of guys that are making so much money that they're forgetting the process. And I think you got to go back to your roots and do what we know how to do, even when things aren't phenomenal. And those are going to be the guys that really succeed. The guys that can buy cars off the street, the guys that can set first service appointments, and you know, the guys that work the process and don't shortcut. And yeah, I definitely think that you know, buying cars off the street and working the trade the right way is integral right now and going forward.
Yeah, and maybe consider doing a loss leader oil change to get more VIN numbers in your service lane so you're not competing at the auction lane. I don't know. If you want to know how to build the sales chain to charge that to advertising, just hit me up. I'll show you.
Well, what I'm hearing.
What? It's important. I've only been doing it for 15 years. Like, I don't like to go to the auction to get cars, and I've been blessed with some brands with great trade penetration, but the only way to efficiently own your used car inventory is to buy it from people who aren't trying to sell a car.
Well, right now, Ford Motor Company is talking about reinstituting their old not taking the cars to public auction anymore. Yeah, that was discussed last week. Anybody hear anything about that?
I mean, I think we've been seeing a lot of that with several brands, especially with off lease, you know. I mean, that happened years ago. So we've already seen some of that constriction. I think that came out of the first iteration of General Motors trying to have their own CPO direct model.
Yeah, the CPO direct is what I'm talking about right now. And you know, our dealers opting in for that. What are you hearing, DJ?
I'm not hearing anything about that right now, honestly. I haven't heard any conversations in meetings about that.
So anyway, getting back to the root subject, built to order.
Can I speak on that for a second?
The other part of the scene are the manufacturers. Yeah, go ahead.
Jim, I think the built to order thing is, you know, if they really want to improve the factories I'm talking about right now, we've got to be better at that. We're not going to be Tesla. Okay. Tesla doesn't really they got competition, but they don't have competition like the Fords and the GMs and the Hondas of the world.
General Motors is not Tesla, and they're never going to be.
And they don't need to pretend to. But you know, like a Honda, since that's what we started with. You know, a Honda is a 10-week process to build the order to deliver. You know, that's a long time. You know, and so I kind of like Jake's, you know, and a couple other you guys talked about. We need a manageable supply of inventory on the ground and a percentage of vehicles that we can order, but it can't be 10 weeks. We have to be better at this. You know, when parts freeze up and the chip shortage, whatever that is, goes away, we can be better at this as franchises and still take care of the customers that want the vehicle today and the ones that are willing to wait. But
People are not going to wait 10 weeks for a vehicle. They want instantaneous gratification. They want the car now. And they want
Definitely not for Honda.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. There's a small, tiny subsection. It's kind of like I've always talked about the difference between my mainline sales process and a highline sales process. Need buyers, which is most of America, and want buyers, two totally different beasts, two totally different processes. And while there is a tiny section that's used to that, like I'm going to have it custom built with everything that I want and this specialty thing, that's not the majority of consumers. And I think it's just going to erode brand loyalty even further, which is going to be a mistake that's going to affect all of us.
We're talking built to order right now. Built to order, correct? Yeah, built to order. Built to order, I don't know what they're thinking, but what I see is far. Now listen to what I'm thinking here a second, guys, and I want everybody to comment on it. We have the evolution into the EV age. All the manufacturers are shifting to electric vehicles, and they were saying 10 years. I'm going to say we're going to be totally electric coming out of the factories in 4 years. Remember, Ziegler said that.
Okay.
In 4 years, there won't be the internal combustion engine coming out of any of the factories. I mean, they're in super hyperdrive. Internal combustion engines are going to be obsolete within 4 years. And there's a reason for this. Think about that. They're going to have to replace the entire fleet of
the whole
automobiles
fleet.
people own.
Yeah,
Every
guess who's-
automobile people own has to be replaced with a new EV vehicle.
It's going to be like that movie. Remember that movie where all the gas combustions were hidden in the sewers and it was all electric up top? But 100% honest, my oldest is enrolling in mechanic school, and I'm making sure he has a focus on EV vehicles. Like he was all like diesel, and I'm like, let's roll in a little EV too, there, sweet potato.
It's going to be all EV. I mean, because the manufacturers, there isn't a public outcry, a mandate for EV vehicles. Understand, self-driving vehicles, nobody's saying, boy, I wish the damn car would drive like the Jetsons. Nobody's saying that. Nobody, the manufacturers want that because it's new technology that you have to buy. And when you have to buy it, you have to replace your old car. And it's all about replacing the current fleet. You know, and I said, what do you think? I gotta appeal to DJ on this one.
I'm not sure I'm on the same page with you on the amount of evolution of this EV and the
4 years. 4 years.
Agree.
I'm not sure I'm on that page. I think California and New York has driven a lot of the growth on this. I do think it's going to continue to grow. I don't know what rate, but I saw something 2030, maybe 30% of the vehicles. I think that's a little more realistic as to.
Okay, so whatever DJ just said, Ziegler's full of it, by the way. But anyway,
He said he respects your right to be wrong.
he said he respects me. Bail me out here, Jake.
No, I agree with DJ. I mean, within 4 years, if that happened, the cost of lithium production, you'd be paying probably 10 times more. It wouldn't be feasible. I don't even know how much. And I agree, 2030, 2035. And the other thing that, nobody really talks about is, the chip shortage. What warranty issues is that going to create? If any, I'm sure it's going to create issues. But yeah, I don't see within 4 years going complete EV. I don't think it's possible, but I definitely see manufacturers going there. And a lot of states are going away with the tax credits. A lot of them ran out. So, it depends.
So you got somebody on the sidebar here.
Carrie
Moore
just
said
said what I was going to say.
the infrastructure
Yeah.
can handle EV every 4 years. Well, not only can the infrastructure not handle EV, the infrastructure can't handle self-driving automobiles.
No,
I mean, my God.
I mean, is it just me? Who wants a self-driving car? I don't even use cruise control because I love to drive.
Yeah, that's
But guys, besides the infrastructure, right? The accounting cannot handle EV, right? If you look at an income statement of any OEM, right, 98% of their income comes from internal combustion vehicles. And at some point, math catches up to you. And yes, you can drink the Kool-Aid and believe the green propaganda, but when your stock is going to plummet because nobody is buying your EVs, right? There'll be, another wake-up call, right? There's no demand for electric vehicles. Look at the
Listen, man, I'm going to shopping for a used Leaf.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I got to get me some used Leafs.
Listen, we've got a great program with the city of Indianapolis on some of those Leafs, Jim. If we get some out of the rotation, I'll hook you up.
Yeah, the thing is, the pre-owned Leaf. Billy, you want to get a pre-owned Leaf?
That's a hard no.
I don't think anybody wants a pre-owned Leaf. I think that's a good app name. They turn brown and die every season.
Hey, not only a pre-owned Leaf, but what's the resale on a Prius? What's the book on a 2020 Prius with 20,000 miles on it, Jake?
Right now, I'm sure it's strong as could be, but 8 to 12 months, probably 40% lower if I had to guess.
A Prius. I mean, and Prius has been the darling of Toyota for 20 years. I mean, just a hybrid.
Right.
So battery issues. Jump in here a second, DJ. What's your thoughts?
On the Leaf or on EV?
On EV. I think we have a consensus on Leaf.
Yeah, the Leaf's put to bed.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the comments that are coming up on the side here and what we've already talked about with EV, there is a market for it. Okay, it's not going to happen too much in my state, in Arizona. I can tell you that. And,
right.
Even though we got a lot of sunshine, it makes sense. But these charging stations in the range, it's still an issue. It just is. So I'm not as bullish at this as you are. That's for sure.
Well, the new Silverado F-150 all electric, these cars are going to be selling, these trucks are going to be selling for super premium prices, way over sticker.
Mm-hmm.
360 miles per charge, according to Jake Davis. I guess that's going to be accurate. He wouldn't have said it.
No.
So what's the recharge time on one of these vehicles?
Too long.
Forever.
And Jake, why would you be towing with an electric truck?
Well, they've got torque. They've got you could tow with it, but how quickly is that going to run down your battery life?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, at least, for somebody who does tow. I get that it's a truck, Jake Davis. I totally get that it's a truck, but growing up in that brand, I started, GM solid and have had the bulk of my experience be in Chevrolet. I'm just sitting here thinking about what type of power you're going to have with that vehicle versus what we're used to as truck owners. And so I totally love that that's going to be an
I think it's going to have the power. I mean, I don't have the technical knowledge to say that, but when you step on you don't step on the gas, when you step on the electricity on a Tesla, I mean, it'll put you back in the seat. It's got power. I mean, it's
yeah, but it's not hauling anything. What's Tesla's truck's tow capacity? I don't even know.
Electric motors have the torque immediately as long as it has power. It's actually a better and more efficient way to do it with electric.
But as long as it has power. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's like the gasoline. I mean, you run out of gas, and it's all going to be range based. And lithium is really old technology now. They're developing new batteries that are different.
But what happens when you run out of your battery, right? When you run out of gas, right? When
Yeah,
you
you
run
can get
out
new
of
gas.
gas,
I'm not for it. I'm just saying
right,
that the power of an
they
electric car.
deliver a little bit of gas to get you to the gas station. But when you run out of juice, what are they going to do? If you're stuck somewhere in Montana, nobody's coming.
And it's
I love the Dawg Pound because no matter what subject we try to start out on, it goes somewhere else.
listen, I'm ready to go fly fishing in Montana
We're talking
right
about
now.
In your leaf.
Jake, let me ask Jake a question. Jake, now you just took on an Audi franchise. Do they got an EV model coming in?
Yeah, the e-tron is hot, but like anything else, it's maybe 5-8% of demand there. So back to DJ, I'm bullish on EV as a segment within automotive, but I think we're 15 years away from full EV just based on the infrastructure and lithium costs, and I just don't see it happening. But there's demand. There's plenty of demand there, and Audi for sure, Volkswagen, and Audi dropped their piece, go all EV by 2028 or 2030. But we can't build enough gas cars right now to supply the demand in the market. How are we going to build enough EV cars in 4 years? I think we got to focus on satisfying the demand that's in the market. And 2, 3 years, 4 years, see where we're at.
So Patrick Butler said something interesting. He prefer a plug-in hybrid versus an all EV unit.
He's not ready to go cold turkey. I mean,
Right.
That's like
Jim,
that's
I
like-
want to read you an interesting stat so everybody understands, whether there is demand for electric or not. Audi reported 66,995 vehicles sold in the United States during the second quarter of 2021.
How many?
The company all electric car sales stand at 2,560 cars.
so out of
Guys.
600 and some thousand,
Well, that's 4%, give or take.
Right.
So-
And that's your answer. Internal combustion
Yep.
engine is alive
Wait a
and
minute,
kicking.
Max, is that not because they didn't produce that many cars or because there wasn't demand for that many cars?
It's probably a combination of both, but I would lean more towards the fact that there's no demand for this car. E-tron is not a cheap car. It's not something that an average consumer can afford. It's not your Honda Accord or Honda Civic.
and again, that goes back to the want.
What's
like,
e-tron?
luxury.
What's e-tron stickering at?
It's going to be somewhere, 70, 80.
Yeah.
You could get a base e-tron in the 60s, but the geared up ones are 85, 80, 85. I mean,
That's right in line with all the Audi product. I mean, I had a Q7 last year, 2019. I bought it new, and it was 73,000.
Yep.
So it's right in line with the tricked out Audi and the other Audi.
the demand for Audi is actually in their RS Audi sports segment. People, 120, 30, 40, $50,000 cars, and there's no, they can't produce any of them. But I would say, 60% of everybody calling us is for a RS6 or an RSQ8 or an RS7. And
Really?
absolutely. I mean, part of the
performance.
Part of the reason is that they're selling for 20,000 over stickers, so people are trying to take advantage of different markets. And I think that's another problem with build to the build model is you're going to have people in PA and Jersey buying from dealers in Florida, and you obviously want to keep people in your market servicing their car and referring their customers, and you want to keep spending money marketing and growing your brand. And that's why I think you could effectively do it with 30 days supply, build to order the rest. And we have a store in Freehold, and they're turning about 98, 99%. And they're doing 85% of the volume they were doing, in normal times, but only because they're turning and ordering, so precisely. If you don't do that, you can't get it done. But back to what you were saying, Audi demand is in performance, not EV, I would say.
Then if you look at the e-tron GT, Jim, those are about $125.
Let me ask a question of Jake. Jake, you're in the Northeast. I just saw that internal memo from General Motors that I fell into from Steve Carlisi, the president, and he's real concerned about brokers marking these things up. How many brokers are approaching you on these cars?
2, 3, 4 years ago, I stopped dealing with brokers. I didn't want brokers to control my customer. I saw in Jersey specifically, I saw a lot of dealers going in a bad direction dealing with brokers. So years ago, I had all of my stores step away from that. But I get approached, just a guy, Facebook, 2, 3 guys Facebook messaged me in the last couple of days asking to do broker deals. And it's not for me or for us, or I think it shouldn't be for anybody in this market. But you also have a lot of customers, trying to kind of arb the market and buy cheap and flip. And I think it's creating kind of a demand funnel, maybe places there isn't demand. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next year or so with the market. But we don't deal with brokers, but there definitely are brokers out there trying to.
They're definitely out there. What are you hearing, DJ?
Yeah, I don't right now. I'm not hearing a lot of activity. You don't need a broker. I mean, if you put your vehicle out there and your showroom is basically everywhere in the country, for those that are charging excess money over MSRP, they don't need a broker to make money right now. So that's what I'm hearing. Hey, one thing I do want to discuss, and I know we're getting to the end here, is the average new vehicle transaction price just tipped over 45,000, and that's up about 10 grand in the last year and a half. I think that is a massive potential challenge in this industry moving forward.
That's absolutely right. DJ, if you look, and I always use the analogy, a 1976 Eldorado Brougham. You remember that car?
1976, I was 10. So no, I don't.
Yeah, 1976.
I remember that car.
Eldorado Brougham. It was 25 feet long. I mean, you couldn't see the hood ornament in the fog, is what I always say. And they had the opera lamps and everything. Beautiful car. That car was $13,000 and had a 30% markup for the dealer. Wow. Cost on it was about $9,500. So you got about a $9,500 car, $13,000 MSRP. 20 years later, the Eldorado Baritz, 1996, was $52,000 with a $2,000 markup for the dealers.
Yep.
I mean, and the consumer, cars have far outdistanced inflation, and the margins for the dealers have shrunk down from 30% down to 5%. Just incredible. The manufacturers have taken all of the gross out of the cars, but they demand these extravagant facilities. I could talk to Jake, who's buying all these dealerships. What you have to pay for a facility to satisfy the manufacturer is outrageous.
Yeah, the cost of building anything right now is outrageous. And Manheim Used Vehicle Index at 236, and even with rates ticking up and the market looking a little bit frothy, I mean, the used vehicle index hasn't ticked down at all. I don't know if that has anything to do with Cox controlling it or why, but I think it's going to be a challenge as rates go up and the consumer weakens a little bit. And facilities are, you used to be able to spend 2-3 million. That's probably 5, 6, 7, 8 million now. And dealers have to put up more cash. And like somebody was saying earlier, you got to have economies of scale in your market and have reach with multiple rooftops. I think that's the only way to succeed going forward here. To really succeed and do volume.
Fantastic. Okay, Wes, we're getting ready to wrap up the show. Jake Lebowitz, Bill Wolf.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Bill, they can get in touch with you through LinkedIn or Facebook. You're on both. William J. Wolf, right?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. One of the best general managers. This guy is prime merchandise. If you need a general manager, this is the man you need to hire.
And I do know service.
And he does
Good
no
job.
service. Okay. If you're looking for the best 20 groups in the world, DJ Heller, NCM, Nicholas Campbell Morrow. You can Google up DJ Heller, NCM, and Kerry Morris says Bill is amazing.
Thank you, Kerry.
And if you need a consultant to really put your store in line, you got to call Jennifer.
Only if you're ready. Don't call me if you're not.
Don't call her if you're not. And reinsurance, if you're doing business and you're not private labeling and you're losing so much money, get in touch with the reinsurance.
That's one thing
team.
I'll tell you right away first things if you do call me.
If you do call her, she's going to tell you you should be reinsuring.
Yeah.
And of course, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog. That's me. Okay, everybody. I guess we just need to wave goodbye to the audience.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jim.
everybody. What a
Appreciate it.
great